My dear students, this is a request video. Some of you had doubts regarding the characters in Act 3, Scenes 1, 2 and 3, The Tempest, written by William Shakespeare. In today's video, I am going to discuss the characters. The first character is Miranda, who is the only woman in the play, and her name is equivalent of the wonderful one or the one who causes admiration. Now, admired Miranda, indeed the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world. And her name is symbolic of her beauty, innocence and modesty. So, Ferdinand appreciates her beauty by calling her so perfect and so peerless, are created of every creature's best. Act 3, Scene 1, and in Act 3, Scene 2, we see that Caliban also tells that Prospero calls Miranda unparalleled, matchless beauty non-parallel. Next, Miranda's outward beauty is a reflection of her inner merit. She feels sympathy for the suffering of others except Caliban. In Act 3, Scene 1, we find that she feels sorry for Ferdinand. She starts weeping and she also offers to help Ferdinand. Not just because she is in love with Ferdinand, but by nature she is very kind, affectionate and sympathetic. Now, let me see. Act 3, Scene 1, I'll show you the line also. Here it is. If you will sit down, I'll bear your logs the while. Pray give me that, I'll carry it to the pile. So what is evident? If this question comes for your exam, I hope you will be able to answer the question. She is sympathetic, she is kind, she is affectionate. Yes, she is in love with Ferdinand, but she is sympathetic by nature. And then let me see what else. Yes, she is capable of falling in love at first sight, and she has the simplicity and the forthrightness to express her love openly. Act 3, Scene 1, lines 83 and 84. I'm your wife if you will marry me. If not, I will die your maid. She confesses her love for Ferdinand. She does it with simplicity as well as forthrightness. This is her quality of directness. So, she is beautiful, sympathetic, and the character without blemish or artifice. No artificiality, no superficiality. She has lived almost all her entire life on the island, and she has never known any women and only 2 men. Isolation. Therefore, she has no experience with men. She has no skills at flirting. When Ferdinand expresses his love for her, she weeps. The textual reference once again, isolation. I do not know one of my sex, no woman's face remember, save from my glass, mine own, nor have I seen more that I may call men than you, good friend, and my dear father. Next, she asks forthrightness. Do you love me? She has an independent streak in her character, and she is very forthright, direct. She has no superficiality, no pretense, nothing. Here, I am skillless of what? Skillless of flirting, and by my modesty, the jewel in my tower, I would not wish any companion in the world but you, so direct, so forthright. Now, I hope I have made this clear and you will have no problem in analyzing the character of Miranda as evident in Act 3, Scene 1. Again, when Ferdinand tells that he loves Miranda, she starts weeping and Ferdinand asks, wherefore weep you? Emotional as well. She is an obedient daughter as proved by her dismay when she forgets herself and reveals her name to Ferdinand. But after all, she is also a young woman in love, and when she gets an opportunity, she asks Ferdinand to take rest. Now, again, let's come back to the text. Miranda, "Oh, my father, I have broke your hest to say so." She is an obedient daughter, deeply in love with the young man, and she has violated the command of her father, and therefore she is ashamed of herself, and she is also repentant. She is feeling sorry, she is feeling guilty, and here again we have, "But I prattle something too widely, and my father's precepts I therein do forget." A dutiful and obedient daughter. Miranda is sweet, she is pure, she is honest, she is loving, she is independent as well. Let's come to Ferdinand now. Ferdinand is honest and kind, a loving son who will make a loving husband to Miranda, and Prospero says, "Fair encounter of the two most rare affections, heaven's rain grace on that which breathes between them, the budding love between Ferdinand and Miranda." And Ferdinand makes a commitment to marry Miranda while thinking that his father is dead. He says, "I am in my condition a prince, Miranda. I do think a king I would not so." He wished that his father were alive. Now, he willingly accepts Miranda's love and reciprocates her love for him. He says, with heart as willing as bondage ever of freedom, here's my hand." All throughout, he accepts Miranda's love for him, and he says, he expresses his love, "O heaven, O earth, bear witness to this sound, and crown what I profess with kind event, if I speak true, if hollowly invert what best is boded me to mischief. I, beyond all limit of what else in the world do love, prize, honor you." A confession, reciprocation of love. Now, my dear students, I hope you will be able to analyze the characters when you put the characters in the specific context. Next. Unlike Miranda, he has not led a life of isolation. He is not bashful, and he had associations with many women. Here, "Full many a lady I have eyed with best regard, and many a time the harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my too diligent ear." So, unlike Miranda, Ferdinand had mixed or had associations with other women. Miranda led a life of isolation, but Ferdinand did not lead a life of isolation. He was free to associate with other women as well. But he is honorable and he is a true gentleman. His love for Miranda is instantaneous but sincere and profound. His love is gentle and protective, and he is touched when Miranda offers to share his labor but will not let her suffer on his behalf. Act 3, Scene 1, lines 25 to lines 28. Now take out your text and read. "No precious creature, I had rather crack my sinews, break my back, than you should such dishonor undergo while I sit lazy by." So this is a rough sketch of Ferdinand's character. Now let's come to Prospero's character. He functions as a god on the island, manipulating everyone within his reach. Prospero stays at a distance, unseen, and he overhears Miranda and Ferdinand, and later also in Act 3, Scene 3, nobody can see Prospero. He uses his magic to create a storm and bring his enemies under his control. He is autocratic in his treatment of Ariel, Ferdinand, but realizes that Ferdinand and Miranda will value one another. He is a loving father as well. He loves Miranda. He says, "Fair encounter and he is really happy to see that love breeds between the two. Although he is sometimes critical of Ariel, he seems to love Ariel and to take pleasure in his successes. In Act 3, Scene 3, Prospero appreciates Ariel. Bravely the figure of this harpy hast thou performed, my Ariel, a grace it had devouring. So here he is appreciative of Ariel's efforts. Now, Antonio. Motivated by envy and greed, he is shrewd and cunning. He hatches a conspiracy against Prospero, but to satisfy his ambitions further, now he is trying to convince Sebastian to murder his brother Alonso. He is so ruthless, he is so cunning, dishonest. And he may be frightened when confronted with spirits, but reveals no sign of remorse for the actions he has committed. Act 3, Scene 3. Alonso will repent and he will accept that he had committed a sin, unlike Antonio and Sebastian, who show no sign of remorse. When Antonio says to Sebastian, "Let it be tonight, for now they are oppressed with travail, they cannot use such vigilance as when they are fresh." What do you think? Here, Antonio's shrewdness, his cunningness are evident very clearly. Sebastian, "But one fiend at a time, I will fight their legions over." And Antonio, remorseless, says, "I will be thy second," and they exhumed. So, this is the character of Antonio that is evident in Act 3. Alonso, when he believes that Ferdinand is dead, Alonso is grief-stricken. And he says, "O Lord, I cannot blame thee, who am myself attacked with weariness to the dulling of my spirits." Not just physical exhaustion and tiredness, he is also suffering from emotional breakdown. "Sit down and rest, even here I will put off my hope and keep it no longer for my flatterer." He is a loving father. He is drowned, whom thus we stray to find. So he has undertaken this journey in order to look for Ferdinand. And the sea mocks our frustrate search on land. Futile search on land, his grief, his helplessness, the helplessness of a father. Next, he bears some responsibility for the events in Prospero's life. Antonio would not perhaps have acted without Alonso's agreement, but when confronted with his responsibility, he is genuinely repentant for the pain he caused Prospero in the past. He is a loving father and he is also concerned for his son's safety. And he also thinks of committing suicide. He is so grief-stricken and he is feeling so guilty. Here it is. "It did pass my trespass, therefore my son in the ooze is bedded, and I seek him deeper than ever. Plummet sounded, and with him there lie mudded." Such a painful moment for a father, to come to terms with the fact that his son has probably drowned and died. Caliban is a product of nature. He is uneducated and he reacts to his surroundings in much the same way as an animal does. He is insolent, he is rebellious, and he is only controlled through the use of magic. He claims the island as his own and maintains that Prospero has tricked him in the past. He plots to murder Prospero in revenge, in order to take revenge, and he also wants return of his island. Therefore, his motive of plotting against Prospero is less ignoble, less hateful than that of Antonio and Sebastian, 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 who plan to murder Alonso to gain power and wealth. and Antonio had conspired against Prospero in order to gain power and wealth. He is savage yet sensitive to beauty, and the playwright William Shakespeare has made him utter poetic lines in Act 3, Scene 2, lines 133 to lines 141. 133. Sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometimes voices that if I then had waked after long sleep will make me sleep again. So, he is sensitive to beauty, and these are poetic lines which are uttered by Caliban. And Caliban is not at all happy with Prospero. Here, I am a subject to a tyrant, a sorcerer, that by his cunning hath cheated me of the island. He holds Prospero responsible for taking away his island from him, and therefore Caliban wants revenge. He wants to take revenge. Last but not the least, we have the character of Ariel, who willingly carries out Prospero's wishes because he is eager to be free. He approaches his tasks with enthusiasm and promptly reporting any activities that he observes. Act 3, Scene 2, and you have the line, "This will I tell my master." And then he assists in punishing Prospero's enemies. It is through Ariel that Prospero executes all his plans. Next, willing obedience of Prospero's wishes are in stark contrast to Caliban's cursing and plotting against the same master. Caliban is rebellious and he wants to murder Prospero, unlike Ariel, who is willingly obeying Prospero's orders. We have come to the end of today's discussion. I hope you will be able to analyze the characters on your own as well. And if you have any other points, kindly write it down in the comment section relating to the characteristics of different characters in Act 3. Till then, goodbye and hoping to meet you very soon with another video.